So, friends, in a moment, we are going to begin the Levaya for Dr. Tanner. Zichrono Livrocha. If anybody has a cell phone or any noise-making device, if we can turn it on silent, Rabbi Wolf will be our rabbi.
Mizmor David, Adonai Yisrael Yaso, Benois Deshe Yabitzein, Yamei Menucho Yisina Aleini, Nafshi Shoyvev Yancheni, B'magli Tzedek V'mar Shmoi, Gam Kielach Begeit Samoves Lo Ira Ro Ki Ato Imadi, Shivtcho Mishantecho Hema Yenachamuni, Taroich Lefon HaShulchan Nagid Tzereroi, Shant Vashem Reishi Kaiser Voyo, Achtoi v'chesed yidefuni kol yemei chayoi, v'shavti b'veis Adonai le'orech yomim. It's Zeis Chanukah. Still, we have like a couple hours left for Chanukah. And in general, on the festival of Chanukah, it says in Halacha that we do not make a hesped. We do not make any eulogies. And our Nifter, Mordechai Abba, the mayor, requested that he did not want to have any eulogies at his funeral. This is what I hear. So, Akol Min HaShamayim, it came out on a day where Pi Halacha, it's difficult to make. We got to find a heter. Got to find a way how to allow some words for the family, some words of comfort, but it's going to be definitely an abbreviated version. We'll begin with Dawn.
Wow. So first, I'd like to thank everyone for coming. My dad went to Ida Crown, and he'd be especially heartened to know that you guys took time from school to help make a minyan today. So instead of giving a usual hesped, I'll try and talk about 3 midot about my father, and then I guess conclude with one about the Kadosh Baruch Hu, and I guess a blessing for him. These 3 midot are based on a brisa he once told. Over Yom Kippur, one of the good midot of my dad is he was constantly learning. He was a professor, and many years over Yom Kippur, he'd learn Masechet Yoma. So one year, he kind of, he turned to me in shul and he said, look at this interesting, look at this interesting Bryce Island. And the Brysa goes like this. So it's on Daf Zayin Amud Aleph in Yoma, and it goes like this. It says, Titania Haya Omed Umakriv Minchad Omer. If a Kohen was about to sacrifice the Omer meal offering, so it's given on the second day of Pesach, the nitmeit biyado, and it became impure in his hands. So it says, Omer umevi'ina chera tachteha. So what does the Kohen do if either he becomes impure or the sacrifice becomes impure? He tells his colleagues, and they bring a different Omer in its stead. V'im ein sham elahi, but if there's only that Omer, Omrim Havei pikeh ushtok. They tell him, just be wise and silent. Don't tell him and just go ahead with it anyway. At the time, I always thought, I thought it was a little bit funny. Maybe it was my dad trying to tell me to be a little bit more pragmatic with mitzvah. But I guess over the past few days, I realized that two elements in the Mishnah and in this brisa and the general context behind it really characterize some of his wonderful midot. So the first midot, I would say pikeach, right? My dad was obviously very, very clever. He was constantly learning. Even when he was sick, he would look. So he died of cancer, and he was reading clinical trials, and he was even right. I guess he was able to assess based on medical evidence his likely prognosis. So obviously he was very bright. But the other great midah he had is that he was very humble and he was silent a lot about his accomplishments. So he made a few breakthroughs in simulation for statistics, and he would, go on trips around the world. But he wouldn't really talk about how great the trip was or how important it was. He would just relate it, in context of the Jewish community. So I remember, in Frankfurt, what he talked about is how he was, the guard tested him in order to get in shul on Shabbat. So he would talk about how the guard asked him about the parsha. He was very small. And then the other story that really stood out is when I was younger, he won what was called the Mortimer Spiegelman Award, which I guess if you're not in statistics, it's not a big deal. But effectively, it was an award for the top young statistician. So this was probably the biggest professional accomplishment of his career. As a family, we flew to Toronto, we got all dressed up. They were about to announce his name for the award on the projector. It said in big letters, Martin Tanner. And then suddenly, the speaker forgot to announce his name and just went on and announced the next person. My dad didn't get mad. He just sort of took it, and he sort of, he just, walked away quietly. The other time he was quiet, he was sick for about 20 years. So the other way he retained quiet is he knew that if he told his mother at the time that he was sick, it would really hurt and nervous her and make her really nervous. So he kept it quiet from her. And even during this time, while he was getting treatment himself, he would still take care of her in her later stages of life. So he never really told her about it. And the final midah I wanted to talk about relates to the context of this brisa and Yoma. So my father had a very, to say the least, a very difficult childhood. Around 7, his father basically abandoned the family, and it was mitigated by the fact that he had a very loving and caring grandfather. So his grandfather, he told me once a story about how there was an injured bird, and they both nursed the bird and healed it back to health. So he was very close to his grandfather. But unfortunately, shortly after his father left him, one Friday night, the family received a knock at the door, and they told them that an older man was hit by a bus walking to shul on Friday. So basically, at 7, he didn't have a dad, and he didn't have a grandfather, and basically what my dad told me is that what he wanted most in life, wasn't necessarily the professional accomplishments, but it was just to be a present father and a husband that he never had. And this very much relates to this concept, to the context of the brisa. So for normally, why would an impure person be allowed to bring an offering in the Beis Hamikdash? So this brisa is actually in the context of a debate over tumat meit, dechuya, or hutra b'tzibur. So it is the impurity of death is either overridden or permitted in public. So the context here is that from the Cohen's perspective, tuma is often associated with a tragedy. or other types of adversity. Yeah, right? The Kohen, if the Kohen is Tam Elamed, the Kohen somehow, in some way or other, experienced death. And at the time of the sacrifice that the Kohen is bringing, the Kohen isn't whole. The Kohen might be hurting. The Kohen might be in trouble. And yet, even though he's going through this difficulty, he's facilitating, a good Pesach, or, a good, an Ola. So that's a routine, a more routine offering. So basically the Kohen is either giving people a really great Pesach, or he's making sure that they have their normalcy in their life, that Kohen might lack, that he's suffering through death. And that was very much I would say what my father tried to do. That he had his tragedy and his experiences of in a sense tuma, but he tried to give for us, beautiful Yom Tovim, and give us a beautiful normalcy and a life that he never that he never really had. So I guess I'll conclude with it's the ending Mishnah of Yoma. It's a statement by Rabbi Akiva. So this is so those were the 3 midah of my dad, and this will be the midah of the Kadosh Baruch Hu. So Amar Rabbi Akiva. Rabbi Akiva said, "Ashreichem Yisrael." Happy are you, Israel. Lifnei mi atem metaharin. Before who do you cleanse? Mi metaharetchem. Who's cleansing you? And how does Rabbi Akiva answer? It's Avichem Shebashamayim, your Father in heaven. Shene Amar, as it says, V'zorakti alechem mayim tohorim u'tivatihartem. And I'll throw upon you holy water and you'll be pure. And then the second support for this, I think, is even more apt. It says, Ve'omer, mikveh Yisrael Hashem. And it continues, and the Tanakh continues, and it says, Mikveh Yisrael Hashem. Literally, it means the hope of Israel is Hashem. But the way Rabbi Akiva interprets it, it's that Mikveh Yisrael is Hashem. The mikveh, the cleansing water of Israel, is God. And in the Mishnah says, Ma mikveh mitaheret atmeim, just like the mikveh purifies the impure. Afas Kadosh Baruch Hu mitaheret Yisrael. So does the Holy One, blessed be He, purify Israel. So now my dad is, I guess, with he's in the he's in the Mikveh Yisrael, and I hope that in Shemaim he'll be able to get the cleansing and the healing from all the difficult experiences that he suffered in his life. So, thank you.
The purpose of a eulogy in general is to bring comfort. One reason, to bring comfort to the mourners. And today, it's very difficult. No wonder your father didn't want it. Very difficult to bring words of comfort to mourners that are mourning someone who passed away fairly young. Today, that's considered young. But the other reason for a eulogy is exactly what you did, Noam, is to bring out some of the great values of the nifter, in this case your father, your husband, so we can learn, so we can learn from him. And there's no doubt in my mind that you have a lot to learn from your father, and you will continue and follow in his footsteps and emulate all of his amazing midos. And this way, your father will always be in your heart. He will always be alive. He will always be there. Because you're going to follow what he taught you. And therefore, the spirit of your father will remain with you forever. We are honored today to have Rabbi Lenny Matanki here. So I'm going to ask Rabbi Matanki to say something to Hillel. מכתם לדוד, שומרני אל כי חסיתי בך. אמרת לאדוני, אדוני אתה, טובתי ועלליך. לקדושים אשר בארץ המה, ואדירי כל חפציבם. ירבו עצפותם, אחר מהרו בעל השיח נזכה מדם, ובעל לשאת את שמותם על שפתי. אדוני מנת חלקי וחוסי, אתה תומיך גורלי. חבלים נפלו לי ונמאים אף נחלת שופר עלי. אברך את אדוני אשר יעצני, אף לילות יסרוני חיליותי. שיוויתי אדוני לנגדי תמיד, כי מימיני בעל אמות. לכן שמח ליבי ויגל כבודי, אף בשרי ישכון לבטח. כי לא תעזוב נפשי לשאול, לא תיתן חסידך לראות שחת. תודיעני אורח חיים, סוף השמחות את פניך, נעימות בימינך נצח. We're going to begin now with the Kvura.
One of the women to step forward.
Baruch Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam Hodei ha'emet.
Going to place a little bit of the earth on top, as the Rabbi mentioned. Just be careful when you approach the grave. You can come on that side of the mountain or on this side. We're going to do a little bit now, and then we'll put the vault cover, and then we'll hopefully put a little bit more as well. Okay, we're going to take a pause for just a moment. We'll have the cemetery staff put the cover on for the grave, but afterwards we'll come back and we'll do the job. Yeah. We're gonna help first of all first. We'll break it up and we'll just put the one together. We still got some time to do it. A couple minutes. You want me to sort of continue? You might find it easier to scoop from using the board.
המציאו נקרח מנבשים מלאוס המאזין הקויש וכל אדם בן המדרישה חדש ויחד נפילה וחך בויס חדש לי בסימון נייס אך משל אזני אבנה בחינה חידוס לו נעירה ממירה אבא נקי ויוסף הנה בית מאחר ומרי אושרם יסמאו אך לכדי יפחי איש ליתן דלים טוב לביט בית נאסר חדל ויילום חינה סביר שחפיר וחכם ימזי אחר תסירה בעייזר וחילם כי מבטים האלה משכנס נדי ודאי קרבש בסנבי אדם וייס ואדם ביקר לא יום שבהם מזים בדעתם כסר למה לכם אתם יתסות דפים ושישת ממס יגרם הידמון משמון בתמצון הראש שאין לזביר ואי ובקנה שלי עכשיו כי ככן לסבא עתירה כי השש גירה ככן נסר כלב נעשי לחיים תכניסי תבחר הדעה וסעניץ על הירואל אדם ביקר ויוב נשאלת והם מקריבו Okay, we're going to conclude with the regular mourner's Kaddish. You have it?
Adar, Mishalaz, Mishalal, Make Visha, Ritu, Le'ela, Ol, Rechata, Vishirasha, Kishrachata, Benachamasha, Damiran, Be'alma, Vimru, Amen, Yehe, Shamar, Rabban, Shemaya, B'chayim, Aleinu, Ve'alchol, Yisrael, Vimru, Amen. Shalom B'Bramav, Uya Shalom, Aleinu Ve'alchol Yisrael, Vimru, Amen.
This concludes the service. We're going to have a shore now. So we are going to go to our Mishnah. Following, we're going to the shore. There will be a minyan from Mincha in the Harlem office. We'll just follow the first part of the line, and they're waiting for us.